Hey everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So I decided to go back to Ratle and farm to upgrade Okanaktos. And I wanted to show you a video of how to defeat all 4 bosses in one run. So you've seen the first one with the T-Rex. Now with this one, it's a 3-turn rotation. First turn is basically a small AoE fire. Second one is a self-boost intelligence buff. And then the third turn is a large-scale AoE fire because of the boost. And the boost actually carries over to the next round of 3. So that's what you have to watch out for. So if you watch my rotations, I actually always start with Aqua Wall and Aurora Force. It really mitigates a lot of damage. Since there are no physical attacks, there is no need to use Aiming Flood in this case. And I'm just using Echo Wave as well as Dragon Hand to multi-hit as much as possible and boost the AF. I also, for all these battles, will not have an AF bar to start, being that I'm running 4 bosses back to back to back. And so the AF bar actually builds up really quickly. And the main thing is to know when to switch out to kind of set up your AF, because at the end of the day, in order to end most of these bosses in one AF, you'll need to boost over and over and over again. So you can see I'm bringing in Annabelle, and this is always my setup right before the AF. So I'll have the 2 characters here, Mariel and Annabelle. Mariel will switch for Mighty, Annabelle will switch for Levia, and then Leclerc will come in on her own, seeing as she's fast, and Nikke, the 4-star, will actually not get hit because her speed is so slow that the enemy boss will act first. That actually is good because Nikke increases speed and power for the entire party, which the speed only helps all the characters, but the power only helps Leclerc, of course. So that's how I do it. You can see that I'm going to end it right here with a large AF, and being that they're all water attacks and the enemy is weak to water, it will do more than enough damage, about 3.7 million. Also, the first hit from Levia, I always use Aquatic Maelstrom because that boosts her intelligence as well. And if you time it right, using my team for example, seeing that Levia comes in after Mighty, it boosts his intelligence as well. So that's really important to try to stack those buffs in order to maximize the damage you make on the character. Now, of course, if you have a half-bar AF, it'll make life easier for you. But again, in my previous videos, I've explained that I like to kill all 20 mobs first to get the chance of a shiny. Okay, so you can see that I'm not quite at full health or MP. The reason is, of course, that I didn't use any food yet. And I actually try not to use food until either between the 3rd and the 4th battles, that is, between the Hell Hound and the Elder Dragon. Or in some cases, if I have full MP after this battle, I will not use food at all. So again, the standard straightforward approach is to always cast Aqua Wall and Aurora Force, and then use the other 2 to hit as much as possible. Now, they do have a mix of physical and elemental attacks with magical AoEs, so you will want to use Aiming Flood. And it does have, again, a 4-turn rotation, after which it'll switch to the fire coming from the ground, which will hurt everybody for 4 turns, and then repeat. Also, don't forget the 4th turn has a significant intelligence debuff on everybody, so you want to rotate your mages to the back. In a lot of cases though, unfortunately, Mighty is among the slowest out there, so he usually doesn't escape on the 4th turn. So you have 2 options. You can leave him out there as a single tank to tank the AoE. His high spirit and with his Aqua Wall will protect him from most damage. You can see I left Leclerc out there instead. And that's fine. So I'm bringing these 3 back in. And basically, the idea is just to chip away at the damage until you get 1 AF. And then set up the large AF the same way I did with the dragon. Okay, so if you do have Annabelle, obviously the Holy Saber comes in major use here. Note that I'm using Elemental Wall with Annabelle and not using her Splash Sword in this case. The reason is I'm actually relying on her to do the water damage. Now, if you don't have multiple water AoEs, obviously you can use Splash Sword, but I will tell you that with Levia and Mighty and Leclerc, you'll need 2 XL AoEs from the 2 mages, plus the medium AoE from Leclerc to kill all the mobs in one go. And so, if you have anything less than that, first of all, your AF is going to do a lot less damage, which means you'll need 2 full AFs to kill a boss. That's going to extend the battle time and increase the chance of you dying. Also, it's going to increase your farming time on killing those mobs. So I highly recommend to have 2 to 3 like water DPS, significant water DPS. And like I said, I'm only bringing Nikkei to boost the AF. Note that she never is used in any battles other than the turn of the AF. Now, Shamey or Melina, you know, those other water characters, if you happen to be fortunate enough to pull those, then you won't have any problem. In my case, I actually didn't even pull 5-star Mighty. I used 5 chance scripts to evolve my 4-star Mighty, so had to pay to win there, even though I'm a free-to-play. Levia, of course, is free, provided you farm that out. Okay, so again, with the Hellhound, you keep on using the, like I said, the Aqua Wall and the Aurora Force really is useful here, and just make sure you stack them so that it extends beyond the turn that he switches from, you know, the fire coming from the ground and his regular 4-hit rotation. And the reason for that is that way the person can survive the first turn or 2 while having flames come up from the ground, because Mario will be in the back for the very first turn after escaping from that intelligence debuff, which happens at every 4 turns. Okay, so you can see my 2 characters are there, and we're going to try to set up the full attack here. Now, it's not optimal to burn an AF during the time that he's under that kind of flaming background, but I'm going to do it anyways. Note that you can see that with just the fact that I rotated that in, it didn't deal much damage. And I did have Holy Saber to mitigate that. So if you land Holy Saber or any sort of intelligence debuff on the enemy, then you're safe to kind of rotate it in, because even the flames coming up will not cause significant damage to your team. So again, you can see that this AF is going to do about 3.7 million damage, give or take. So sometimes it does about 3.5, sometimes it does about 3.8. Also, I will say that I've experimented with it as well, and you don't even need quite the full bar. You can have it a couple of hits short of a full bar, and it'll still do essentially the same amount of damage. So 3.71 million, and it's more than enough to take down the Hellhound. So this is always the hardest battle of the 4, and at times RNG does end my team as well. So keep that in mind, that it is a challenging one, but if you use Aqua Wall and Mariel's Aurora Force and rotate properly, you will be able to easily survive. Now, the 4th boss, Elder Dragon, without Levia, I was having a very difficult time, but with Levia, very, very straightforward rotation. First rotation, we're going to debuff physical attacks, the power, with Aiming Flood. Same thing, Aqua Wall and Aurora Force. Note that the single hit that Levia suffered was only 54 damage. Turn 2 is a heal, and that's in preparation of having the regen. The regen regenerates more than half the damage dealt by this fire AoE. Okay, this turn 3 is again a large fire AoE. Regen still in place. Turn 4 is when the enemy buffs intelligence for the turn 5 mega fire AoE magical attack. So we're going to cast turn 4 another Aqua Wall, and turn 5, because Mariel is fast, we'll cast Aurora Force at this time instead of at turn 4, whereas Mighty is usually very slow, so I cast it on turn 4 and it extends for 3 turns anyways. Okay, so full bar, and you know what that means. We're gonna rotate Annabelle in after we do just a little bit more damage and kind of just get everything set up. Okay, so this is turn 1. Remember that turn 2 is a fire AoE, but again, being that the Aqua Wall is still in place for the majority of those characters, no problem here. So again, you can see that in the status there. So 700 damage, very doable. and then 1 large AF. And I find after you get used to the kind of timing and the switching of the characters to activate their valor chance, you will find it much more straightforward in kind of balancing the speed of the characters and which character comes first and last. And it does take some practice because, like I said, I mean, you can look at the numbers of the speed before setting up your team, but in practice, it turns out a little bit differently. And so I finally got this particular pattern down, and I've done a bunch of runs with success. So this is very repeatable. And in my next video, I'll show you the results of all this farming in Area 3 Ratle. So anyways, I hope this video shows you a little bit of how to do things a little bit easier, given that you'll have at least 2 water DPS. And, make things easier to grind. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.